You know, in the world of engineering, there are stories that are more than just history, they're warnings, lessons that were, unfortunately, written in tragedy. This is one of those stories. It's about how a series of what seemed like small, totally preventable failures spiraled into a catastrophe on an almost unimaginable scale.
So picture this. It's the middle of the night, December 2nd, 1984 in Bhopal, India. Something goes terribly, terribly wrong at a chemical plant. But the trigger? It wasn't an explosion, it wasn't an earthquake, it was just water. So how on earth could something so simple, so common, unleash one of the worst industrial disasters in human history? Well, that's the question we're here to unpack. Okay, to really get what happened, we have to start with the chemical that was right at the heart of this disaster. It's called methyl isocyanate, or MIC for short. So MIC is a key ingredient for making certain pesticides. And at the Union Carbide plant in Bhopal, they stored huge amounts of it. We're talking tons, in these big underground tanks. But here's the crucial thing you have to understand about MIC. It is extremely reactive. Kept on its own, under the right cool conditions, it's stable enough. But if you introduce the wrong thing, it becomes incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And that danger has a scientific name. It's called an exothermic reaction. Now, that might sound complicated, but it's really just a process that releases a massive amount of energy in the form of heat. When water gets into MIC, it's not like stirring sugar into coffee. It kicks off this violent, runaway reaction that just gets hotter and hotter. And inside a sealed tank, all that heat and gas has nowhere to go, building up a truly terrifying amount of pressure.
And this, right here, shows you everything you need to know. On the left, that's MIC how it's supposed to be. Kept cool, stable, under manageable pressure. Totally safe. But then look at the right. You add water to the mix, and the whole equation just flips on its head. You get that violent exothermic chain reaction, you get extreme heat, and you get this uncontrollable spike in pressure that basically turns a simple storage tank into a ticking time bomb. Now, a modern chemical plant like this is supposed to have layers of defense. Think of it like a heavy-duty safety chain. But in Bhopal, that chain wasn't just a little weak. It was as if every single link had been deliberately broken, one by one. This is just a catastrophic cascade of failures. First up, the refrigeration unit. Its whole job was to keep the MIC cool, to keep it stable, and slow down any potential reaction. But it had been shut off for months. And why? To save money. Second, the vent gas scrubber. This was designed to neutralize any toxic gas that might escape. It was also not operational. And then, the third and final line of defense, the flare tower, which was supposed to burn off any gas that got past the scrubber, well, it was out of service too. A critical piece of its pipe was literally missing. Every single safety system designed to prevent this exact scenario was down. So, with every single safety net gone, there was absolutely nothing to stop the chemical reaction once it started. At that point, the disaster was no longer a possibility. It was a certainty. So what kicked it all off? It started because really basic safety protocols, the kind of rules that are drilled into you, were just ignored. While workers were cleaning some nearby pipes, water was allowed to get into one of the main storage tanks, Tank 610. That one simple mistake, which only happened because of a total breakdown in procedure, was the spark that lit the fuse. And once that water was in the tank, the reaction began. The temperature and pressure started to skyrocket. With no refrigeration to cool it, no scrubber to neutralize it, and no flare to burn it off, there was no way to stop it. The pressure blew the emergency valve, and a massive 40-ton cloud of deadly gas was unleashed into the night sky, drifting silently over a sleeping city. You see, the Bhopal disaster isn't just some historical event we read about. For engineers and scientists, it's a mandatory case study. It is a stark, powerful, and absolutely essential lesson in ethics and responsibility, one we are all obligated to learn from. The human cost, it's just devastating. Thousands of people died almost immediately within hours of the leak. Hundreds of thousands more suffered from agonizing, lifelong health problems. These weren't just numbers. They were the real human consequence of treating safety as an optional extra. If there is one single thing to take away from Bhopal, it is this. Safety systems are not optional. They're not a line item you can cut to save a bit of money. Cutting corners doesn't just create risk. It can and did have unimaginable consequences. It has to be the absolute foundation of responsible engineering, period. So, what have we really learned here? First, that disasters like this are almost never about a single mistake. They're about a systemic collapse. Second, those safety protocols on the books, they're not just suggestions, they are a non negotiable duty. This also shows us that understanding the fundamental science, like what an exothermic reaction can do, is absolutely critical. And maybe most important of all, it teaches us why we must study these past disasters, not to point fingers, but to make damn sure we build a safer future. Learning from the past is really our greatest tool for protecting the future. The story of Bhopal is a painful lesson, but it is an absolutely necessary one. So it leaves me with this question. What other events in science and engineering hold these kinds of critical lessons that we all need to understand? Thinking about that helps us remember that behind every calculation, every design, and every procedure, there is a profound human responsibility.